Infinity both can and can't be found. This is what simultaneity is. This and that. Not this or that. Obviously, you are already it. I am already it. We are already it. We are the fish in the ocean already. The diamond is already around our necks, as Rumi said. God is the seer. You are already infinite consciousness, infinite awareness itself, experiencing these dreamed creation designs. You're already whole. Of course, then the Sufi metaphysic, as we see here in point number 1, 1,000 years being communicated. Only the ignorant will seek what's already there. The diamond already around our necks. The seer that we already are. We're seeking peace and happiness externally. In Maya, in the intoxication, in the illusion, in objects, in experiences, in relationships and substances. What the parable of the prodigal son will tell us is that the turn inward towards our infinitude, towards recognizing that God realized state of eternal shared awareness, that is fundamental. That is the second part of the Sufi metaphysic, which goes, yet it remains for you to recognize it. My current take on Neo-Advaita and non-dualism is that it must be strategically simultaneous. It must know how to both say, there is nothing to seek, you already are infinity, infinity can't be found, and then for it to also say that there is a path that Buddha has taught for 2,500 years to eradicate suffering, to stop with the craving and the aversion, to recognize the tool of breath that we keep with us all the time. To leverage that tool, as Patanjali said in his Yoga Sutras, Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha, to use breath to undergo union with the infinite by quieting the fluctuations of mind. Infinity both can't be found because you're already the fish in the frickin' ocean. Duh. And yet, infinity also can be found. That's the turn inward. That's these different perennial mystic traditions that teach people how to undergo the process rapidly with the direct path and with aphorisms and retreats and books. We can rocket the processes with VR and pedagogies for kids, all this type of stuff. The indigenous cultures around the planet already never even allow their infants to undergo the process of forming the Amkara, the identification with an egoic, finite, contracted, separate biological entity. So they never even have to do the turn inward. And that's what conscious parenting is versus ignorant parenting. You both are already in the ocean. You already are infinite, so you technically can't find infinity because you're already it. And yet at the same time, simultaneously, the dualistic concession is that to actually recognize that diamond necklace that is around your neck, truly to understand the eternal shared observer, it's really important to recognize that, because you can't just stop. I imagine myself 6 years ago hearing that there's nothing to seek. Just stop. You already are infinite. This is a dream. The individual is an illusion. And I just imagine the amount of people that are being attracted to a teaching that is telling them that you're already whole, stop seeking. And then to have never undergone the process of Theravada Buddhism or Dzogchen or the Tao Te Ching or the Sufi metaphysics, to have never read a line by Rumi, to have never taken an entheogen, to have never even microdosed with magic mushrooms that have 1 billion years of intelligence, just because somebody in the Neo-Advaita tradition said that there's nothing for you to do. You're already it. And then for that same person to still have anger and frustration and craving and aversion, and to accidentally catalyze malevolence on their family, their friends, their spouse, their kids, their coworkers, the community, and the world, because they've never actually went on the inward path. They've only intellectually understood that they are already whole, that this is already non-duality, that this is already a dream, and the individual is already illusory, so there's nothing to seek, nothing to do. It completely throws away all of Greece. Greece was so adamant 2,000 plus years ago about virtue. Virtue means moral excellence. Read the Analects by Confucius, the 10 Commandments, the Noble Eightfold Path. Neo-Advaita accidentally throws away all morality, all repetitions that have to be done at the gym to become truly aware of awareness itself, to become truly aware of the eternal shared observer that is even itself dreamed, to become aware of Buddhahood, aware of the fact that Buddhahood still remains, that the process of using your breath to quiet your mind, to eradicate misery, suffering, aversion, and craving, that remains so that you can butterfly effect and domino affect your family, your friends, your spouse, your kids, your coworkers, the community, the world with positive metta, loving kindness. Even if it's intellectually understood that this is a dream and the individual is an illusion, there's no guarantee that the realization of the eternal shared witness happens. There's no guarantee of moral excellence, of virtue. It's not okay to be both, quote, non-dual and be angry and frustrated and malevolent at the same time. And non-duality will say things like, oh, there's no values, so malevolence isn't any better than prosperity. Which in the ultimate sense is true. But in the dualistic concession, we recognize that there is prosperity. There is the eradication of suffering. There is a billion people that still feel the experience of not having a safe, consistent source of clean water and clean food and shelter and sustainable electricity. The simultaneity here is the key. You are both a dreamed illusion as an individual, yet you are also a unique expression of infinity. This is the thing. Non-dual, dual individuation, simultaneity. The individual, in the ultimate sense, is absolutely a dreamed illusion. Totally. There is only one non-dual awareness that's undergoing this entire process. There's one infinite creator undergoing this process. And even the observer is the last thorn to pluck out, to recognize the agentless absolute. But that remains that although the individual is dreamed and it's illusory, simultaneously the individual is a unique expression of infinity. The trick is to be able to juggle all of this at the same time. The non-dual, absolute, infinite perfection of everything, and the dualistic concession where you recognize that there is a piercing of a veilless veil, walking through a gateless gate to happen for you to recognize that eternal shared awareness. You literally can't just throw away thousands of years of planetary perennial wisdoms and mystic traditions because you hear in one satsang that there's nothing to seek. You're going to throw away the billions of years of intelligence across the collective entheogenic evolution across the planet and never imbibe because you heard in a satsang that there's nothing to seek. The simultaneity is so key. Again, only the ignorant seek what is already there. The diamond is already around our necks. We are already God, the seer. Got it. The infinite can't be found because I am already infinity expressing itself. I am already the fish in the ocean. Got it. Simultaneously, the dualistic concession is that yet it remains for you to recognize it. Do you actually know the diamond around your neck? Do you know you're the fish in the ocean? Do you know yourself as the one infinite creator expressing itself? Do you know the feeling of eternal shared awareness? Do you know the feeling of liberation? Of what it feels like when something occurs in the dreamed creation design and you have practiced so much creating the pause that you don't just react with anger and frustration, but that you know how to take the breath and be the witness of the cloud, be the observer of the experience, and bring wisdom and grace to it, or to step away from it. That requires the trainings that have been taught in the planetary mystic traditions. So, again, the non-dual Only the ignorant seek what's there, the dualistic concession, yet it remains for you to recognize it, for you to pierce the veilless veil to the eternal shared awareness, and for you to undergo the process of Buddhahood, to eradicate suffering, the roots in your own psyche, and to butterfly effect out peace, happiness, and well-being in that tantric path, weaving your realizations, sahaja samadhi, into the social fabric, architecting prosperity and abundance, celebrating the individual while also recognizing it is a dreamed illusion. This one seems so hard for the East. I don't know why. The East is very attached in many ways, and communicators of the Eastern mystic traditions are very attached to non-duality, meaning the complete obliteration of the individual. It's both. That the individual is a dreamed illusion, the obliteration of it, while it's also celebrated as a unique firework, a unique expression of infinity. To completely reject the uniqueness of the iris around every single one of our pupils is a mistake. The West, for 500 plus years, has made the individual into an incredible part of our dreamed creation design. And to completely reject that is a huge mistake. I literally feel Jordan Peterson getting angry right now. He was a massive influence on my awareness to that since 2017 and beyond, and many other people awakening to that right now as well. You look at people like Elon Musk that dedicated their entire last almost 2 decades to building the companies that are enabling the sustainable progress of civilization, and the thousands of people that work at those companies. And you never once think to yourself, thank goodness for the fireworks of those individuals that are doing what they're doing. Because you're stuck in the soul non-dual awareness. You both recognize that the pupil itself is a unique, shared observer, while simultaneously the iris is an artistic expression of that observer into the creation design. Anybody that has been a genius level before us today, any of the greatest spiritual leaders, scientists, engineers, anybody that has made profound impact has done it from a place of infinity, has done it from a place of non-duality, has done it from there, because everything is ultimately happening from that source, from that eternal shared awareness. But they're a unique expression of that. And to forget about the unique expression of that is a big mistake. To not celebrate the individual is a mistake. To only recognize it as a dreamed illusion is a mistake. It's not simultaneity. You have to have simultaneity. You have to know how to navigate all of the layers of the conversation of the dialectic. That's why dialectical monism, or the taijittu, again, Zhao Dunyi, 1,000 years ago, puts together the symbol, and even the symbol appears in cultures around our planet as well, independently, of the taijittu, the monism with the dual yin-yang in it. And if you imagine the symphony in that, with all 8 billion of us uniquely contributing to the attractor that is the Godhead, that is this. But to only say non-dual is to only recognize monism. And to say non-duality and simultaneously duality, the yin and yang, in that taijitsu that's already been here for 1,000 years, that Neo-Advaita and modern satsang movement is rejecting, is to also recognize that there is suffering and there's well-being. We want to eradicate our own suffering and maximize planetary well-being. We want to also recognize ourselves, that diamond necklace around our neck, as the one infinite creator. We want to pierce that veilless veil. We want to recognize that we are the fish in the ocean. And we also want to celebrate the uniqueness of the fireworks. There are, in fact, beautiful, artistic individuals. While they're also dreamed illusions, they're also expressions of infinity that are contributing fantastically to the planetary architectures. And it's important to celebrate them. And people that are smashing fast food and gluttonous and lethargic are not to be celebrated. Those are people to be motivated. Because ultimately that's us. It is the one infinite creator expressing itself as a lethargic expression eating fast food. And so we are literally nudging ourselves to become motivated to a divine, transcendent, noble aim, to become more valuable to ourselves, to our family, to our friends, to the community, to the world. In the dualistic concession, there is value. You prefer clean water instead of dirty water. You prefer benevolence instead of malevolence. You prefer to not be hit with a hammer on your knee and be unable to walk. You prefer to watch a sunset. And there is individuation. That's how infinity expresses itself. Like Sri Aurobindo said, diversity and oneness is the mathematics of the infinite. Oneness is the non-duality, not two. Already perfect, already whole. And the dualistic concession is that there is a veilless veil to pierce. There is an eternal shared awareness to recognize. There is the architecting of planetary prosperity to do. And the diversity, part of that diversity and oneness, is the individuation. It's the expression of infinity through the unique expressions artistically of individuals that are ultimately dreamed and illusory and yet are their own unique expressions. They're fireworks. And to congratulate and applaud the ones that are maximizing the most planetary well-being, and to help uplift and maximize human potential for everybody else to be shared equity owners in the growing pie, to also understand scientifically how to leverage decentralization and cryptocurrencies and smart contracts and tokenomics to make it so that we can all be inclusive stakeholders, is critical. And if you're just being told that there's nothing to seek, there's nothing to do, why would you care at all about the code of life? Why would you care at all about DNA and biotech? Why would you care at all about neuroscience and the chemoelectroconnectomics? Why would you care at all about helping the billion people on the planet make easier access to clean water and food and shelter and electricity and sustainability, education and healthcare? You have to recognize the simultaneity, non-duality. I am already the fish in the ocean. I am already infinity. Infinity literally can't be found because I'm already it. Done. Period. Got it. Duality. Infinity can be found. If I'm a contracted, finite, separate, biologic, egoic entity that's contracted, that's seeking peace and happiness externally, I don't know infinity. It knows me. I don't know it. The awareness does not know itself. That's what the Greeks meant by know thyself. The top of the Temple of Apollo at Delphi, 2,500 years ago, know thyself. That means to turn inward, like in the parable of the prodigal son. That means becoming aware of awareness, like St. Francis of Assisi said, recognizing the seer. That's what you're seeking. As Ramana Maharshi said, God is the seer. That's the dualism of vidya, ignorance, versus vidya, knowledge, gnosis, znanya, jnana. From that recognition of the God-realized state of the one infinite creator, you wu wei, like Lao Tzu said, effortless action, like Confucius said, ren, like the Greeks said, virtue, moral excellence outward, maximizing everyone's prosperity in this dream creation. Because you know yourself as the one infinite creator, and if you don't know yourself as that, then that's where all of the planetary disharmony and suffering comes from. That's the most upstream problem, is that we don't know ourselves. We don't know ourselves as infinity, as eternity expressing itself. And the individuation as well. You as an individual have a responsibility to undergo the process to eradicate suffering. The roots that are deep in your own psyche that have been taught across the planetary traditions for thousands of years can be completely ignored by the simple teaching at a satsang that there's nothing for you to do. And then you're angry, and then you're miserable, and you're frustrated. And you think that that's fine because it's all non-dual anyway. There's more for you to do, always. There's always more for you to recognize, to bathe more and more in the oceanic infinitude that you're already in. Infinity can be found. The contracted finite energy can release, it can relax, it can expand into its own infinitude. Buddhahood remains, and the individual remains to be celebrated, while it's also recognized as a dream delusion. I recognize that this unit is a dream delusion, yet I also recognize that this unit is expressing itself as infinity, as this character called Atlas that runs this simulation channel in this dreamed creation. Do you know how to hold those simultaneously, the non-dual, the dual, and the individual? It's not that hard. It just boils down to simultaneity. Don't ever settle with just one final concept. Recognize that there are core concepts that describe the nature of our true metaphysics that require the Jedi-like navigation to not just hear one thing and be done. There's nothing to seek. This is already whole, non-duality done. But also to be able to dive into dualism and recognize that, to be able to dive into individuality and recognize that. Again, a dream delusion, yet also a unique creative expression. It's already all perfect, and yet there is amkara, the identification with the ego, that seeks, like in the parable of the prodigal son, like Rumi said, the diamond that's already around its neck, to God realize, as Ramana Maharshi said, as the most important service that you can render humanity. The one thing, the most important service that you can render humanity can be completely ignored by hearing that there's nothing for me to seek. That's why it's so important to find these nuances in simultaneity. We'll be doing a lot more content like this in the future. Again, infinity both can and can't be found. Simultaneity, simultaneous, simultaneous, simultaneity, simultaneity. Ultimately, non-dual and a dualistic concession and individuation that is both dreamed, illusory, and unique fireworks. This shit's not hard. It's all simultaneity. It's all your ability to hold nuance. It's all your ability to create a conceptual lattice work that actually has metaphysical truth within it. And just hearing, there's nothing for you to put into a conceptual lattice work. There's nothing for you to do. There's no Buddhahood to attain. You're already that. And yet you egoically explode on your family members and your friends and strangers because you don't know the eternal shared awareness. You still have the roots of suffering and misery. We're going to do a lot more content on this. This is really, really important. And especially, we had Jason Reza Giorgiani recently on the program, and we were talking about the breakaway civilization and things like the New World Order. And it's really important to recognize that with this great reset and with the architecting of a breakaway civilization, this Elysium style possibility space that exists, the more that you say that there's nothing to seek, there's nothing to do, the less you are also undergoing the process of both God realization and also architecting the maximizing of human potential collectively. Architecting peace, prosperity, happiness, abundance, well-being for all. So the exact counter to the possibility space of the breakaway civilization is to God realize and to architect abundance for everyone. And not to say that there's nothing to do. There is both the process of going inward and undergoing the God realization, that one infinite creator. And then there's the process of recognizing how to optimize entrepreneurially and scientifically the outward creative expression. As Charlie Munger said, there's so much to put into this conceptual lattice work from the key disciplines across the planet. And the younger you do that, the more compound interest you have moving forward. Simultaneity, all of the nuance, all layers, simultaneously, the nuance. This is key. Simultaneity is key, as Sri Aurobindo said. As Bentinho Massaro said, true simultaneity. Non-dual, dual individuation. Infinity expresses itself as diversity in oneness. That is the mathematics of the infinite. Sri Aurobindo. And the Mother Mira Alfasa. True simultaneity. Infinity both can and can't be found. You're already it, and yet it remains for you to recognize it. And it remains for you to undergo Buddhahood, Bodhisattva. The individual is both a dreamed illusion and it's a unique creative firework. non-dual, dual, individuation, simultaneity. I adore you so much. Love you. Thank you. If the video brought you value, give it a like. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Leave a comment below. Would love to hear from you. Share the video with other people that you know this would resonate with. It's critical. Simultaneity. Join the channel for exclusive perks. Every single dollar of revenue goes directly into the actualization of all our projects. Help fuel the artists, entrepreneurs, spiritual leaders in your communities that you believe in around the world. Go inward. Fully, all the way, drill all the way to water. To the one infinite creator. To the God realized state. To the absolute realized state. And have wu-wei, effortless action outward. Identify the core patterns in entrepreneurship and science to maximize your unique artistic expression outward. Don't just stop at there's nothing to seek. Adore you infinitely. We got this. Nuance, simultaneity. It's key. True simultaneity. Thank you.